Okay, so you're ready to commit, right? We say we want this committed relationship. We know there's a payoff for it. So how do you get there, right? So we found that there's a number of things in which you'll find very closely aligned to a real relationship with a person. So the first thing, you have to be reliable, right? We've talked a lot about that today, so no surprise. Design is like how you look, right? So if you're attracted to someone, same with being attracted to a brand, you've got to have a nice design and be desirable. You've got to be respectful. So I think we heard a lot, Michael talked about, hey, understand me and make sure that, you respect me ultimately. Enjoyable experiences. Again, we've got this, social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube world. Make sure that we've got some experiences where I can capture that. And then the interesting one is this notion of you've got to be intelligent. And the reason why this stood out is because Gen Z, I don't have a number for this, but from my observations, they are the most hungry generation for knowledge. It's constantly, how do I learn? How do I find out about this experience? And so you've got to be able to provide that to them. So if you're a brand, you have to figure out ways that you can constantly be educating and sharing that knowledge with this generation, and ultimately then you'll get the love.
But Colby, that is like the perfect relationship.
Yes, I know.
And how many of you have all those parts going? I don't know. But I think, do you do one or all of them, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to try and meet all their needs. So this slide actually addresses the same thing, but what we're showing is some of the things that didn't appear as strong. And this is really interesting to me. So I think we see a lot of brands today that say, oh my gosh, I've got to market to Gen Z. Here's the 5 things I got to do. And it starts with, I got to be trendy. I got to be cool. I got to surprise people. I got to be popular. I got to be funny. Well, those are the last 5 items that Gen Z cares about. So it's really interesting. I think we see a lot of brands chasing the wrong thing when they should be talking about these things of reliability and design. And Loretta, to answer your question, I think you've got to try and hit a number of those things. I don't think you say
try one if
right.
you're not doing any.
Yeah,
right?
Certainly try one, but I don't. My guess is one thing is a start, but you probably need to establish that you're working at all those things.
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting because our briefs and our clients are asking us a lot of times of like, well, you tell like what's cool, and like we don't know, and we're just. Well, they're kind of deeper than that, and it showed in the front when Colby talked about all the issues that they're dealing with. Like they're serious and they're adulting hard early, and we've not experienced it. So don't take for granted that their age makes them immature, right? Or like, oh, all we need is like slapsticky comedy, and that's the brand that we want. Like it's not. They are deep.
That's right.
So let's just talk, Erika, about like any of those qualities, right? And feeling like you're delivering them. Like, are you showing in your daily life that you're ready to commit? What do you think you're doing well right now?
Sure. So, I mean, in terms of creating a committed relationship with anyone, we'd like to think, as a customer, we treat our customers like you would in your own personal relationships, right? We talk a lot about engaging them on a personal level and making them feel seen and making them feel like this is a personal relationship. Then you treat the relationship as such. So there's a lot of points on this. I'm sure we all have trouble trying to, get all of these things right in our personal relationships also. But, I think the core is being authentic, understanding who your customer is, and then being authentic to them. Like they mentioned, when people are trying to be cool or trying to be trendy, like that doesn't work. You have to be authentic. You have to listen to your customer. For us specifically, we are definitely reliable. It's a timed experience. It's a set menu. People know exactly what they're coming in for. They know what time they're coming in, what time they're coming out. The regulars who come back, they know exactly what that menu is going to look like. We do change it often, but at the same time, people also know, it's consistency and also reliability. They know they're going to get an amazing experience every time. Our locations all have different themes and all have kind of a different personality at each location, but they know that the service is going to be impeccable. They're going to have a memorable experience. They're going to have something that they're going to want to post on Instagram, which also touches on the enjoyable experience and also the design factor. It's an attractive brand, and also it's an accessible brand. So our price point, the experience is unique. The unique experience allows us to lower the price point, but compared to our competitors, because it's a timed experience, we're actually able to offer a similar product at a third of the price. So, in our minds, it's actually, we call it sushi for the people. It's there's a respect for our customer, and we're not, charging them prices that we know that are completely crazy.
Yeah. And Michael, you had particular heart for the causes, like that they're showing that they're involved in causes that you care about.
Yeah, so as we talked about earlier with the shifting, there's a lot of issues that we're thinking about constantly stressing us out. But the good thing is we are very social purpose driven, very conscious of all these problems going on. And we want brands to support the same causes we do and have the same views as us. So what does that look like? Well, it's not just talking about it. You have to actually be about it. And an easy way to do that is to put your money where your mouth is. A great example of that is Patagonia with environmentalism. So they got $10 million from Trump's tax breaks, and they gave all of that money to organizations fighting climate change, right? So being authentically environmentalist, and their CEO, Rose Marcaria, even said, every time we do something good for the environment, we make more money. So it's not just like, it's great to do things good for the world, and you should be regardless of if it's helping your bottom line. But the thing is, it is also helping your bottom line. So especially with Gen Z, with how socially conscious we are, how conscious we are of all these problems, it's absolutely crucial to have great brand purpose and actually be showing it with your actions as opposed to just in your marketing materials.
Great. And so Jen, I don't want to rush you. I want you to definitely cover this, but we are getting short on time.
Sure.
So just as far as some examples of that mutual respect, right, and listening to me. I mean, it seems that you guys do that beautifully. So I think you have some examples too to talk about and show, right?
Sure. Well, as mentioned, in hair, as we were talking to Gen Z, the most common commentary they got back to us was, I love that you're showing girls who look like me, who have hair like me, because I don't feel beautiful, or I'm being bullied for my hair types. And even our influencers would share stories about how they had been bullied as children, and part of why they went into a social space was because they wanted to show people that they came out on the other side of that journey. So with our influencers who had stories like those, we called them our Shiros, and we wanted to highlight them at BeautyCon, not just show up at BeautyCon as Aussie the brand, but have a point of view, to Michael's point. We wanted to share with our consumers what we were about. We had a comic illustrator, Jen Bartel, who also we wanted to feel like we had mutual values. So she does illustrations to depict women in more positive ways in the comic world, which tends to be a little male bent. And she uses her illustrations to make points in representation. So for example, you may recall Ariel, the live action movie, was cast with a black actress, and there was uproar on social media. Well, she illustrated how beautiful she was going to look at Ariel as Ariel in the movie. So that's Jen Bartel, and she drew these influencers in their superhero form. And the influencers had all the say in how they were depicted. Co-creation is a heartbeat for Aussie to drive that authenticity too. We let representation be in consumers' eyes as well as what we share. And this had a major flywheel. We did a comic book thinking it was just a cool, fun thing to do, and girls were writing us asking if they could get a copy. Moms who saw it were asking if they could get a copy to show their daughters. And interestingly, as we were showing representation, we had guys coming up to us with this activation saying, I love this, I see my hair type, I don't see me, a guy, in your brand. And we said, well, we care a lot about you feeling like you see yourself in Aussie, so we're going to do something about it. And Gio was actually at the event, and now he is a face for Aussie.
Want to play it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for today's look, all I used was the Miracle Curls shampoo and conditioner, and then I ended up using the Miracle Curls leave-in conditioner and then the cream pudding. And this is after 16 hours. No refresh needed.
Who wants his hair? I want his hair. I tried to do the side part and it didn't work. But what's interesting is guys are advocating too. So, and then just with that message and really trying to say, hey, we want to spread this idea that your hair is beautiful, your look is beautiful. One of the women who came to BeautyCon to see it gave this to her little sister for her first day of school. One of the just like regular bags we were handing out, but she really saw the message that we were trying to share and believed in it, and that kind of created the flywheel for people to understand what we try to drive.
I think what's interesting too is that you weren't afraid to step out of someone else might be like, no, we're targeting women, you know, and you just went out and did it. And because it's values based, like the way you're looking at your marketing communications is you're defining your tribe by how they view the world, right, and their values versus demographics, you know, specifically.